Hi there, my name is Tosi and you're welcome to my YouTube channel. Here I share sewing tutorials and style inspiration. In this video, I'll show you how to cut a simple kaftan gown just as you can see in this video. So without further ado, let's get started. The first thing you do here is to fold your fabric into two. Thereafter, I marked my shoulder measurements. I went down by 1 inch for the shoulder slope. Then from the shoulder slope, I marked the armhole measurement. For the armhole measurements, I used 8 inches. Then I curved it. That was how I was able to achieve the armhole measurement. This is the basic armhole measurements I use for myself or for any other person that I'm familiar with. But you can go ahead and calculate, use any formula to calculate the armhole measurement. Just do whatever works best for you. The armhole measurement is usually determined by how big or busty the person is. After that, on the place where I have the armhole measurement, I went in by quarter of my bust measurement plus 2 inches. That's quarter of my bust measurement, then I added 2 inches. 1 inch for ease allowance, then the other half inch is for sewing. Then I went ahead to mark my half length. On the spot where I marked the half length, I went in by quarter of my waist measurement plus 2 inches. The quarter of my waist measurement plus 2 inches, then I connected it together. So after that, from my waist measurement to determine where my hip measurement should be, I went down by 9 inches. 9 inches or 8 inches is always like the basic measurement. Then on the spot where I marked the 9 inches, I went in by quarter of my hip measurement plus 2 inches. The quarter of my hip measurement plus 2 inches. Then I marked everything down all the way to my full length where I marked my full length. Then for the full length, it is the full length that I have plus 2 inches. The full length that I have plus 2 inches. This is going to help with the sewing allowance. So to cut the back piece, what I did was to place the front piece on another fabric that I folded into two, but I left 2 inches for the zip allowance. So that's just all I did for the back piece and I cut it out. So to cut the neck, what I did here was to go down by 5 inches. For the front piece, I used 3.5 inches in width and 5 inches for the length. 3.5 inches for the width and 5 inches for the length. While the back, I used 2 inches for the length, while I used 3.5 inches for the width. 3.5 inches by 2, 3.5 inches by 5. So here it is time to add the front decoration, what looked like a pleat in front. So what I did here was to go down by 5 inches. But you see, in this case, it really depends on you what you want to use. But for me, I went down by 5 inches, between 5 to 7 inches from the middle part. So I did not measure it from my shoulder. I measured it from, just look at what I did there. I went down by 5 inches. Then just do what works for you, what you want, how you want it to look like. But for me, I used 5 inches. Then at the shoulder part, I made use of 3 inches and I connected everything together. For the length of the fabric that you're going to pleat, it also depends on how full you want it to be. For me, I just cut a very long strip by a very long one in length. Then for the width, I used, I think, 5 or 7 inches thereabouts, between 5 and 7 inches. That was okay for me because I needed to include 1 inch sewing allowance and also for the folding allowance. So just watch what I did here, and that was how I pleated everything on the dress. So the next thing I did here was to cut the sleeve of my kaftan gown. We are almost getting to the end of this tutorial. I went ahead to cut the sleeve of my kaftan gown and also a long strap of black material that I used to pleat. I pleated it on the sleeve.